Here is section 1 of your short story titled, A True Infidelity Story, When My Son Crossed the Boundary. Section 1. The Calm Before the Storm. I never imagined I'd be the one telling a story like this. It still feels surreal, like it happened to someone else, not to me. Not to my family. We were ordinary people, living in a modest home filled with warmth, habits, and trust. I was proud of the way I'd raised my son. He was thoughtful, kind, and always kept his boundaries. Or so I believed. He had just turned 22. Smart, curious, and independent. He worked part-time, helped around the house, and made me laugh with his sarcasm. He'd come home, throw his keys on the table like he owned the place, and ask what was for dinner. We had our routines, our quiet comfort. The other presence in our home, someone I'll call Mira, was like extended family. Not by blood but close enough. Mira was my age, a longtime friend who'd fallen on hard times. She stayed in our guest room while sorting things out. I didn't think twice about it at the time. It felt right to offer her a place when she needed one. That's what family does. In the beginning it was innocent. She was respectful, polite. She'd help with the dishes, ask about my day. My son would joke around with her like he would with anyone. A harmless friendship, I thought. After all, she was old enough to know better, and he was my son. But over time I noticed a shift. A new kind of energy lingered when they were in the same room. The way she looked at him. Too long, too soft. The way he laughed a little too loudly at her jokes. I caught them talking late at night once in the kitchen, whispering like teenagers. When I walked in, they both fell silent. Just a coincidence, I told myself. I wanted to believe it was all in my head. I told myself I was being paranoid, overly protective. But that quiet voice in the back of my mind kept whispering, something's not right. Still, I chose silence. I kept telling myself it was just a phase, just two adults sharing space. Maybe I was jealous of their easy connection, or maybe I feared the truth too much to confront it. After all, how could I accuse them of anything without proof? And what kind of parent suspects their own child of such betrayal? I brushed it off, told myself I was imagining things. But in my gut, the discomfort grew, tightening like a knot I couldn't untangle. I started to watch more closely, not out of curiosity but out of fear. And even though nothing had happened yet, at least nothing I could see, I felt the first cracks in the ground beneath me. Something was shifting in our home, and I didn't know how to stop it. I just hoped, prayed that I was wrong. Would you like me to continue with section 2 now? Here is section 2 of your short story titled, A True Infidelity Story, When My Son Crossed the Boundary. Section 2. Uncovering the Unthinkable. I didn't want to spy. I'm not that kind of parent. But once you notice something, really notice it, it becomes impossible to ignore. Every small action becomes louder. Every quiet glance feels loaded. I started noticing their schedules subtly overlapping. Mira would stay up late on nights my son worked late. She'd wear makeup even if she wasn't going anywhere. He began taking longer showers, dressing sharper, even when he had nowhere to be. Still, I said nothing. I carried that growing tension like a stone in my chest, pretending everything was fine. But inside I was unraveling. Then one night it happened, the moment I couldn't unsee. I was walking down the hall to get my phone charger. It was nearly midnight. The lights were off in the living room, but I heard whispers. Slowed down. Mira's voice. Then his. Then silence. I turned the corner just enough to see them on the couch. She was leaning into him, too close. His hand rested on her knee. They didn't see me. They weren't kissing. They weren't doing anything obvious. But it was everything they didn't do that confirmed what I had been dreading. I stepped back quietly, heart pounding in my throat. I didn't confront them, not yet. I went to my room and sat in the dark. My mind raced in 100 directions. Was I being too dramatic? Was this emotional closeness or something more? But a part of me already knew. That night I didn't sleep. The next morning I pretended nothing had happened. I watched them during breakfast. How they avoided eye contact, how the air felt heavy with unspoken guilt. I could barely touch my food. Days passed. The distance between me and my son widened. He avoided small talk. Mira became quieter, more polite, like a guest who overstayed her welcome. I searched for answers in the silence between their words. Eventually I found it. Message. Left open on the kitchen tablet. Maybe by mistake, maybe out of carelessness. It wasn't explicit, but it didn't need to be. It was from him, and it said enough. Last night was unexpected. I can't stop thinking about it. Her reply was beneath it. Neither can I. But we have to be careful. Your mom is starting to notice. That was the moment I broke. Everything I had tried not to believe stood in front of me. Undeniable. This wasn't imagination. This wasn't overthinking. This was betrayal. Personal, intimate, and raw. Not just a betrayal by someone I trusted like a sister, but by my own son. The boy I raised to be better than this. I wanted to scream. I wanted to confront them both immediately. But something held me back, maybe shock, maybe sadness. Mostly I felt loss. Loss of the family I thought I knew. Loss of the trust that once made our home feel safe. And worse, I realized that something had already happened. My son had crossed the boundary. And now nothing would ever be the same. Here is section 3 of your story titled, A True Infidelity Story, When My Son Crossed the Boundary. Section 3. The Confrontation and Fallout. It took me 2 days to find the strength to say anything. 2 days of walking through the house in silence, pretending not to see the cracks in everything. I watched them avoid me, watched their laughter disappear. Guilt hung on them like a fog, but neither of them had the courage to come clean. So I did what I had to do. I waited until my son came home one evening. Mira was in the kitchen. I asked her to leave us alone. She looked at me, just one long, heavy look, and nodded. She didn't ask why. Maybe she already knew what was coming. I sat at the table. My son stood there, arms crossed, unsure. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "How long has it been going on?" He froze. No denial. No confusion. Just that silence that screams louder than anything. "Don't lie to me," I said, softer this time. "Please. I need to hear the truth from you." His voice cracked. It wasn't supposed to happen. It just did. Those words hit me like a punch to the chest. He sat down slowly, rubbing his hands together. It started with talking. She understood me in a way no one else did. It wasn't physical at first. I didn't mean for it to go that far. I didn't think. "No," I cut him off. "You didn't think about what it would do to me. To this family. To yourself." He looked up, tears in his eyes. I hate myself for it. But I didn't know how to stop. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My son. My own flesh and blood, caught in something so wrong. I had raised him better than this. Taught him right from wrong. But here he was. Broken, ashamed, and still unsure why he let it happen. Then came the worst part. Mira stepped back into the room, tears on her face too. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "It wasn't just him. I let it happen. I let myself get close because I was lonely. And he filled a space I shouldn't have opened." I stared at her. A woman I had once trusted, loved like family. And now, I couldn't even look her in the eye. I told her to leave. That night. No more discussions. No second chances. My son stayed, but everything changed. We barely spoke for weeks. I couldn't look at him without remembering. He tried to apologize every day. Tried to explain what couldn't be explained. The trust had shattered. And even though the affair had stopped, he swore it had. I knew that the damage had been done. Our home, once full of warmth, now felt cold and unfamiliar. Some betrayals you never fully heal from. Some mistakes don't just hurt. They redefine everything you thought you knew. Would you like me to continue with section 4, the final part? Here is section 4 of your story titled, A true infidelity story. When my son crossed the boundary. Section 4. Reflection and aftermath. It's been nearly 3 years since that night, and still, some days feel like it happened yesterday. Other days it feels like a distant nightmare. Too heavy to remember, too painful to forget. Mira never came back. I never reached out, and she never tried to explain again. I suppose there was nothing left to say. The silence between us said more than words ever could. I had known her for over a decade, trusted her with my home and with my family. And in return, she crossed a boundary that destroyed it all. My son stayed. But in many ways I think I lost him that night too. For months, we existed like strangers under the same roof. He tried to rebuild what had been broken, tried to show remorse. He stopped going out, stopped seeing anyone, poured himself into work and study. But the silence between us remained thick. Trust, once shattered, doesn't rebuild easily. Eventually we talked. Not one long emotional conversation, just small steps over time. A walk outside. Shared coffee. An apology repeated more than once. He cried once when he thought I wasn't looking. That's when I knew. The guilt never left him. He told me he didn't love her. That it was a mistake. Born of confusion, attention, loneliness. That he hated himself for what he'd done. I believed him. Not because I wanted to, but because I had to. I realized forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing to live without letting the pain define you. I had to let go, not for his sake but for mine. We're not the same family we once were. The bond we had, so easy, so natural, is scarred now. But we're trying. We laugh again sometimes. We cook together. He tells me about work, about a girl he's seeing now. Someone his own age, someone who makes him better. I told him once, I still love you. I always will. But there are parts of you I had to mourn. He nodded. He understood. I share this story not because I want pity or judgment. I share it because real betrayal often comes from the people closest to us, the ones we never think capable of it. And sometimes it's not just the act that breaks us. It's the silence, the secrecy, the slow erosion of trust. My son crossed a line I never imagined he would. But he also taught me how fragile we all are. How easily we can fall. And how hard it is to get back up. I still feel the ache some days. But I also see the growth. In him. Me. Some wounds don't close clean. But healing isn't always about making something whole again. Sometimes it's about learning to live with a scar and still move forward.